Have you ever passed by a place and wondered what lies beyond that no entry sign? Well, Brazil is full of places like that, places we can only see from afar, and which, for various reasons, no one can visit. It's not about luxury or exclusivity. These are isolated islands, untouched forests, military bases, and hidden communities that hold secrets, stories, and even real dangers. Some of these places are protected because they are home to rare species. Others because they hide peoples who live apart from our world. And there are those where the risk is so high that no one dares to enter. Today on Bello Mundo, you will learn about 15 forbidden places in Brazil, and I guarantee you, when you get to the last one, you will understand why certain places simply need to remain restricted. Number 1. Fernando de Noronha. Many people dream of visiting Fernando de Noronha, but few know that this paradise charges a high price for you to stay there. The archipelago is located in Pernambuco, more than 745 miles from Recife, and consists of 21 islands covering an area of 10.04 square miles. But why is this place considered restricted? Basically, because of the fees. To enter, you pay the Environmental Preservation Fee, which in 2025 costs $19.15 per day. To make matters worse, the fee is progressive. In other words, it gets more expensive every day. These charges have been in place since 1989 to limit visitors and preserve the ecosystem. In addition, some areas have limited capacity and require booking months in advance. And to access the most famous beaches, such as Bahia do Sancho and Bahia dos Porcos, you must pay an additional fee of $116.10 to the Chico Mendes Institute. Many areas of the archipelago are completely closed to the public to protect sea turtle nesting sites and migratory bird nests. And if you are thinking of breaking the rules, be aware that you can be fined up to $1,860. Number 2. Rochinia. It may seem strange to include a Rio de Janeiro favela on this list, but the truth is that Rochinia has naturally limited access due to several factors. Located between the upscale neighborhoods of São Conrado and Gávea in Rio de Janeiro, it is the largest favela in Brazil with about 100,000 residents in just over 1 square kilometer. Founded in the 1930s, when rural workers occupied the site, its name comes from the small farms that existed there. Its growth was disorderly and vertical, creating a maze of alleys along the hillside. The geography is extremely steep, with areas accessible only by stairs that climb hundreds of miles in altitude. In addition, the presence of criminal groups and frequent police operations make certain locations dangerous, even for residents from other parts of the community. Many alleys and upper lanes are so narrow that 2 people cannot pass side by side. If you want to visit Rochinia, you need to hire a guide who pays fees to criminals, or go with a resident who will explain where you should and should not walk. Number 3. Ilha do Mel. Have you ever thought about having to wait for someone to leave a place before you can enter? This is the reality of Ilha do Mel on the coast of Paraná. The place is located in Paranagua and has an area of about 10.42 square miles. Access is only by boat, and there are no cars circulating there. But the island's main difference is its strict limit. Only 11,000 people can be on the island at the same time, including residents and tourists. During the high season, especially in the summer, those who arrive when the quota is full have to wait for other visitors to leave. The island became an ecological station in 1982, which means that much of its territory is a permanent preservation area. It is completely forbidden to drive cars there. Only walking or cycling is allowed, and the island will begin to charge a fee of approximately $3 per visitor, with the money collected being used for local improvements and environmental preservation. Number 4. Lagoa Encantada, Enchanted Lagoon. In the heart of Mato Grosso, within the Parabubur indigenous territory, the Savante people have kept a place sacred for centuries. Lagoa Encantada is located in the municipality of Campinápolis, about 18.64 miles from the urban area, and has intensely green water. According to the Savante, the lagoon never dries up, even in the worst droughts. It does not accumulate dirt during the rains and always maintains the same level. For them, this place represents much more than just a lake, as it is linked to the very origin of their people. According to the elders, the lagoon has always existed, and from it emerged mystical beings that inhabit its depths: the Water Father and the Water Mother. The most commonly told story is that of women who went to collect fruit and saw ducks swimming in the lagoon. They dived after the ducks but never returned. A shaman performed rituals for days without eating or drinking until the women were rescued from the bottom, but they only lived a few days before dying. That is why the place is forbidden today. The Zavantes see the enchanted lagoon as a sacred place, and they see it as disrespectful for people outside the tribe to enter the waters without the chief's permission. Unfortunately, tourists have been invading the site without permission, which deeply concerns the Zavante people regarding the preservation of this ancestral territory. Number 5. Trindade and Martim Vaz Archipelago. More than 683 miles off the coast of Espírito Santo, thrown into the immensity of the ocean, lies a Brazilian outpost that hides stories from World War II. Trindade and Martim Vaz form our closest territory to the east and played a crucial role during the world conflict. Trindade, the main island with 3.86 square miles, served as a strategic position in the fight against Nazi submarines that attacked Brazilian commercial vessels. From this isolated point, patrols set out to prevent the Germans from turning our coastline into a naval graveyard. For centuries, the island remained virtually empty until its strategic importance was recognized. Today, the Navy administers the archipelago, maintaining a small base with approximately 30 military personnel in total isolation. Only authorized personnel may enter, always under escort. Martim Vaz is even more difficult to reach, as sea conditions make landings risky even for experienced navigators. Number 6. Atol das Rocas Biological Reserve. 144 nautical miles off the coast of Rio Grande do Norte lies a geological formation unique in the South Atlantic. Atol das Rocas is the only atoll in the entire Atlantic Ocean south of the equator, a rarity composed of coral reefs and calcareous algae. The site became protected in 1979 as Brazil's first marine biological reserve. It is elliptical in shape, approximately 4.66 miles long, and 0.31 miles wide. During high tide, almost everything disappears under the ocean waters, leaving only two small islands, Ilha do Farol and Ilha do Cemiterio, with a total area of only 36 hectares. Access to the atoll is strictly prohibited to the general public. Only researchers authorized by the Chico Mendes Institute for Biodiversity Conservation can visit the site, and even then for strictly limited periods. There is no tourist infrastructure of any kind on the atoll, which is a refuge for approximately 150,000 birds of almost 30 different species. It is also the second largest breeding site for green turtles in the world. Number 7. Anavillanas National Park. Sailing down the Rio Negro in the Amazon and suddenly coming across hundreds of islands forming a river labyrinth is an experience that few can have. This place is an aquatic labyrinth of approximately 400 islands on the Rio Negro, spread across the municipalities of Manaus, Iranduba, and Novo Airão, covering 350,000 hectares. During the dry season between September and January, hundreds of white sand beaches appear, but during the flood season, 60% of the territory is submerged, creating the famous Igapo aquatic trails. This seasonal dynamic creates unique habitats that support impressive biodiversity, including Amazonian manatees, pink river dolphins, and more than 300 species of birds. Access to the park is free and does not require prior authorization, but this does not mean total freedom of movement. The Chico Mendes Institute regulates and supervises visitation, establishing specific itineraries and permitted zones to ensure the preservation of the ecosystem. Visitors can access areas such as beaches during the dry season, Igapo water trails, and participate in activities such as hiking, river bathing, visits to community projects, and canoe trips, always following the guidelines established in the management plan. Number 8. Javari Valley. In the far west of Amazonas, on the triple border with Peru and Colombia, there is a region where people live who have never had contact with the modern world and wish to remain that way. These 8.5 million hectares officially concentrate the largest number of known isolated indigenous groups. At least 16 distinct groups have completely refused any outside contact. This area is monitored by IBAMA and FUNAI and exceeds that of many national security installations. The place serves to protect the lives of various indigenous peoples who could die simply by breathing the same air as us. These populations have no immune defenses against simple illnesses such as the common cold, and a single encounter can wipe out entire villages in a matter of weeks. Number 9. Favela Dona Marta. Favela Dona Marta, located near Botafogo in the southern zone of Rio de Janeiro, represents the same type of limited access as Rochinia, which we mentioned earlier. For decades, Dona Marta was under the control of drug traffickers, creating a parallel power structure where access followed its own rules rather than the laws of our Constitution. However, this changed in 2008, when the community was the first favela to receive a UPP, or Pacifying Police Unit. This brought about a profound change in public infrastructure, a significant reduction in violence, and even the development of tourism in the community. But pacification did not last in Rio, and today the community has once again been taken over by criminals. Visitors must be accompanied by residents or guides authorized by the criminals, and certain areas remain restricted. Despite the hostile climate, the community gained international fame when Michael Jackson recorded the music video for the song "They Don't Care About Us" there in 1996, and today there is a statue of the King of Pop at its summit. Number 10. Alcantara Base. Rockets being launched into space from Brazilian territory may sound like science fiction, but that is exactly what happens at a military base in Maranhão. The Alcantara Launch Center is located in the municipality of the same name, 19.88 miles from São Luís. The site is operated by the Brazilian Air Force and was strategically chosen because it is only 2 degrees of latitude from the equator, a privileged position that allows for savings of up to 30% in rocket fuel when launching rockets. This advantage makes Alcantara one of the most coveted bases in the world for space launches. For this reason, access is strictly restricted to military personnel and duly authorized researchers. There is a reason for this extreme level of precaution. The state-of-the-art equipment stored there costs a fortune, and any sabotage or failure could cause devastating explosions within a radius of several miles. Number 11. São Pedro and São Paulo Archipelago. When you look at a map of the Atlantic, you see an isolated dot more than 559.2 miles from our coast that seems irrelevant, but which represents one of our most crucial territorial positions. At first glance, São Pedro and São Paulo appear to be just a pile of rocks lost in the Atlantic. But their geopolitical relevance is enormous, as this archipelago guarantees our sovereign presence in one of the most strategic areas of the South Atlantic. Its geological emergence is also extraordinary and sets it apart from any other place. While the other Brazilian islands arose from volcanic activity, this archipelago came to the surface through tectonic forces that pushed rocks from the Earth's mantle directly to the surface. Portuguese navigators found this place during the Age of Discovery, but for centuries it was practically abandoned because of its total isolation. Currently, only federally accredited researchers are allowed to descend on these rocks, always with official authorization and for a limited time. Number 12. Tapajos National Forest. The Tapajos National Forest in western Para covers more than 545,000 hectares distributed across the municipalities of Belterra, Aveiro, Rurópolis, and Placas, and manages to combine environmental protection, scientific research, and sustainable use of natural resources. Unlike a fully protected biological reserve, the Tapajos Forest allows some human activities, but even so, access is strictly controlled by the authorities. There are traditional communities that have lived within the area for generations, but much of the territory is considered a preservation zone, where access is strictly prohibited without authorization from the Chico Mendes Institute. Visitors can visit some specific areas by prior appointment and with the mandatory accompaniment of authorized guides. If you do these two things, you may encounter some endangered species, such as the harpy eagle, the jaguar, and the spider monkey, as well as centuries-old chestnut and sama-uma trees that dominate the landscape. Number 13. Alcatrazes Island. The name may be similar, but Alcatrazes Island has nothing to do with the famous prison island in the United States. Alcatrazes Island is located off the coast of São Paulo and was so heavily bombarded by cannons that it could easily have been the scene of a war. For almost 50 years, the Brazilian Navy conducted various military training exercises with cannon fire. On the one hand, this scares away species that could suffer from increased stress. But on the other hand, it also keeps tourists and animal traffickers away, which has helped to preserve the island's species to this day. Currently, Alcatrazes Island is no longer used by the Navy as a training ground, but the marks of this period are still clearly visible on the rocks perforated by projectiles. After the Navy left the site permanently, the island was transformed into an ecological station in 1987. Today, Alcatrazes is home to one of the largest concentrations of ocean birds in the South Atlantic, with more than 12,000 pairs of frigate birds breeding there. The general public is still prohibited from visiting. Only researchers with a specific license from the Chico Mendes Institute are allowed to visit. Number 14. Abrolhos Archipelago. On the coast of Bahia, there is a place that ancient navigators named with a warning about its dangers. Abrolhos means open your eyes, an urgent warning about deadly reefs that have sunk hundreds of ships over time. But these same reefs have created one of the most prosperous marine environments in the South Atlantic. The archipelago, with 5 small islands, extends far beyond the land. It is the nucleus of the largest coral reef in the South Atlantic, where underwater life explodes in variety and surreal hues. Since 1983, Abrolhos has had national park status, which comes with controlled access. The park is open daily to visitors, but with restrictions. Only authorized boats can approach, and disembarking is only allowed on the islands of Siriba and Santa Barbara, subject to scheduling, monitoring, and supervision by the Chico Mendes Institute and the Navy. Landing on the other 3 islands is completely prohibited. This surveillance is essential because Abrolhos serves as a breeding ground for humpback whales, which travel from Antarctic regions to give birth in these warm waters between July and November. Number 15. Queimada Grande Island. At the beginning, we mentioned that there was a place that would make you understand why certain places need to remain restricted, and that is Queimada Grande Island, better known as Snake Island. This place is located 21.75 miles off the coast of São Paulo and, as its unofficial name suggests, is completely dominated by snakes. The site is home to the largest concentration of venomous snakes in Brazil. It is estimated that there are between 2,000 and 4,000 jararacas, ilhoas, an endemic species found exclusively in that territory. This represents approximately 1 snake per square meter, which is a disaster waiting to happen if we consider that the jararaca ilhoa is 5 times more venomous than its mainland relatives. But how did this happen? When sea levels rose after the last ice age, about 11,000 years ago, the island separated from the mainland and the snakes became isolated. With no terrestrial prey available, they evolved to hunt migratory birds in trees, developing the unique ability among jararacas to climb treetops. Their more potent venom ensures that their prey dies quickly before falling into the sea. Currently, landing on the island is officially prohibited, and the only exception is scientists from the Butantan Institute who conduct research with special government authorization. Visiting these 15 places makes us realize that Brazil is a much more mysterious country than it seems. There are places we will never set foot in, and that's okay. Some are protected so as not to destroy nature, others to ensure the safety of those who live nearby. There are places that are home to entire communities that have chosen to live far from our mess, and also areas so dangerous that no one even tries to approach them. Each of these places exists for a reason, and when we understand that, we start to see Brazil with new eyes, a huge country full of life, but also full of secrets that are better left untold. Thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next adventure through our beautiful world.